Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. This is UROS IGNJACEVIC. I am the general manager of SunData World. We're a company that's been working hard at developing the first professionally managed data center in Ethiopia. To give you a bit of background information on the country, Ethiopia has the fastest growing economy in the world. Over the last 10 years, we've had 9.5% GDP growth in comparison to a global average of 3.8. Ethiopia is located in East Africa, right on the Horn of Africa, with a population of over 110 million people. Its capital city, Addis Ababa, has over 6 million people and is the third biggest diplomatic city in the world, very often referred to as the political capital of Africa. Ethiopia is a country of a very rich history and culture, dating over 3,000 years. And this is why it has been coined the country of origins. Today, it is a country being modernized with over 200,000 engineering graduates coming out of university every year. Since the new Prime Minister, Mr. Abiy Ahmed, took power in 2018, he started significant political and economic reforms. He ended the hostility with Eritrea, as well as opened its borders to its neighboring country. He freed thousands of political prisoners and appointed women to 50% of its ministerial posts. 2020 will mark the liberalization of the telecommunications sector. Ethio Telecom, its only telco provider, is up for privatization, where 45% of the company will be sold to the highest bidder. In addition to this, 2 new mobile licenses will be issued by Q3 of this year. In order to facilitate the change in this sector, there has been a regulatory body that was formed towards the end of 2018. Soon after the liberalization of the telecommunications sector, the financial and banking sector will follow. There is a high need for improving access to capital, as well as changing the legal system and certain laws in order to attract more foreign direct investment. The World Bank has pledged to provide a loan of over $3 billion for further economic reforms. Mr. Abiy Ahmed, the new Prime Minister of Ethiopia, is a person who's providing a lot of tech support and has been the board member of Ethio Telecom for a while. Before becoming Prime Minister, he was a Minister of Science and Technology, very much involved in the technological reforms of the country, and the founder of INSA, which is the country's information network and security agency. For his efforts and both economic and political reforms, he has received a Nobel Prize for Peace in 2019. There have been many shining examples of companies that have led the improvement of sectors of industrial sectors in Ethiopia. One such example could be Ethiopian Airlines, which made Ethiopia the gateway to Africa. It is its largest airline. It is the largest airline in Africa in terms of passengers carried, destinations, a fleet size of over 120 planes, and revenue. Similarly, both the Ethiopian government and companies are working to make Ethiopia a digital hub of Africa. There are many factors influencing growth. The 2 new telco operators will definitely bring higher increase in penetration of smartphones as well as new mobile services. A growth of the digital economy is anticipated, especially with the liberalization of the banking sector, where we will see platforms for mobile payments, such as are being used today in many of the other neighboring countries. Ethiopia has a very young population. 70% of its population is under 30, which means that there will be new digital users constantly in the market. Due to its relatively low technological position, it has the ability to leapfrog technologies. And what we've seen in the last 2 years is that there's been substantial increase in FDI, especially in the tech sector. This has been due to market opportunities, but also the government has done a good job at supporting and providing incentives for new foreign direct investors. SunData World is doing its best to take part in this reform by providing new infrastructure and constructing the first professionally managed data center in Ethiopia. Don't get me wrong, there are many barriers to entry. The biggest one really being the shortage of hard currency, which makes it very difficult for profit repatriation. There's still significant amounts of red tape, and the access to high quality personnel is relatively low. Connectivity prices are still very high, both local and international. And there's been some political unrest recently, both in Addis Ababa and on its southern borders. A lot of companies still complain that there is a lack of transparency, local knowledge, and local support. However, SunData World has been around in Ethiopia for the last 2 years, and we have been able to successfully traverse a lot of the different issues regarding complicated company formation and red tape. We have done in the last 2 years a lot of firsts in the country. We've signed the first SLA contract with Ethio Telecom for connectivity of its kind. We've signed the first electricity supply agreement of its kind, securing very low cost electricity as well as practically unlimited supply. We've obtained a slot of land for the construction of our data center facility and have successfully scanned the market for initial customers by talking to more than 20 of the biggest companies in Ethiopia to understand their situation, their need and demand for our services. We signed a contract with a renowned data center construction company from Turkey, and similarly with a renowned IT consultancy company from Poland, which you might know as Seven Bulls. We're a no vendor lock-in multi-cloud operator. We will provide automatic orchestration between on-premise and various clouds, all in partnership with European Melodic Project. All of this will be operational towards the end of Q3 of this year. We'll provide very secure, low-cost, quality services and solutions. Our data center is hybrid in a way in that we provide colocation as well as cloud computing. Our cloud computing services will include virtual machines, storage, high-performance computing, backup, disaster recovery, dynamic scalability, and a machine learning solution that I will discuss a little bit in more detail further down the presentation. We believe that we're contributing significantly to the strategic aim of Ethiopia becoming the digital hub of Africa. We're bringing the much needed hardware and know-how. We're supporting the growth of the mobile services and the telecommunication market expansion. We're supplying initial services to support a range of industries and sectors, everywhere from startup to banking to telecommunications, including government as well. And we're supporting local educators in a way that we are planning to create an IT academy that will provide students with much needed practical information as well as theoretical. We're partnering with companies globally to provide innovative services both locally and internationally. Our data center will run on 100% renewable energy. Studies have shown that by 2025, worldwide data traffic will grow by 60% at least. This means that the increase for data center demand will skyrocket. As we know, all data centers that are not running on 100% renewable are considerably contributing to carbon emissions, as well as having a very negative effect to climate change. Although many major providers have committed to switch to 100% renewable, they're still far from the target. Not only will SunData World run 100% renewable energy, but we also have a very efficient energy design, and we pledge to continue our optimization of resources to reduce power consumption. As mentioned just earlier, SunData World wants to become a very significant provider of high-performance computing out of Africa. We have a machine learning GPU solution which is very effective and very cost efficient. We are able to provide cost efficiency to very low electricity costs as well as lower operational costs. We will use the highest technology available to us, such as the latest Intel Xeon Gold CPUs and NVIDIA GPU with Turing chipsets. We won't use virtualization in hope to provide highest performance. Our dedicated machines will be pre-configured and optimized with TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Coffee libraries. And we will have the ability to create machine learning clusters for distributed learning. In addition, we'll have unlimited data storage, which for the same reasons will be very efficient and compatible with AWS S3. When it comes to data transfer, we'll be able to transfer the data in many cases physically from anywhere in the world to our data center. Speaking of the facility, it'll be state-of-the-art with a Tier 3 certified design by Uptime Institute. Initially, it will have a capacity of 220 racks, and it is located at ICT Park, Addis Ababa. We're working very hard to implement everything on the highest possible level, energy efficiency, modularity. Each module of our data center will have its own generator, fuel tanks, UPS, and cooling units, and will provide 2N power redundancy. In addition to multiple connectivity lines by Ethio Telecom, both primary and backup. We are implementing the highest safety measures on network and physical, and using the top-of-the-line hardware brands. Why we will succeed? Our founders are successful individuals with a global experience as well as very specific African knowledge. We run 100% on renewable energy and can provide very competitive pricing due to low operating and electricity costs. We have strong local support and good knowledge of the local market. We have also very strong technical support from partner companies such as 7 Poles. We have about a 12 to 16 month first mover advantage, and we're very flexible and willing to explore opportunities as well as partnerships. Thank you very much. I hope that you stay safe and healthy, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, UROS. A very interesting development. We are learning at every moment. UROS, what would be the component of scientific and research use of this data? What are your predictions? Will it be fully commercial, or will it also serve academic and educational needs of Ethiopia and the neighboring countries?
No, absolutely. Not. It will be used for scientific research not only in Ethiopia and neighboring countries, but we definitely plan to provide our services as well to a global market. So the opportunities will really be endless.
Okay, we have a question here from the audience.
Unlimited storage, yes. Well, we through our product, we believe that we will have maybe not obviously unlimited storage, but we believe that we will be able to provide clients with as much storage as needed, as much as we have the hardware capacity. If we need to expand more, we will be able to expand more at a very short notice.
So maybe I'll ask another question. When you say it's greener energy, what is the source of electrical energy for this facility?
It's hydro energy. We will run completely on hydro energy. They're directly connected to the production of the electricity, surpassing the grid, because unfortunately Ethiopia has a relatively bad grid connection, but a substantial amount of electricity that is produced. The renewable energy comes from providers. Yes, the renewable energy comes from providers. We do not produce the energy on our premises. We don't necessarily need to store energy from renewable sources. We will be able to use it. We have up to 460 megawatts of electricity available to us, which can also be further upgraded once we need more than this amount, which, as you may know, is a huge amount of capacity. No, the initiative is not funded by the government of Ethiopia. This is a private company. However, we're working closely with the government and being supported by the government in order to provide many of the services to the universities in Ethiopia. Yes, they will definitely have access to these services. The total cost of investment, as we are now completing the investment cycle, I would prefer not to necessarily talk about the investment amount, but what we plan on doing is roll out in phases. So our first phase will have both the proof of concept and substantial capacity to be able to probably supply both co-location and cloud computing services to the local government, to the biggest companies in Ethiopia, as well as international clients that we expect will be attracted by our high-performance computing product.
Perhaps I will ask maybe the last question. I will take freedom of asking this question.
Sure.
So I believe in investment or project of that scale. You might have intense competition between suppliers of equipment and technology. Would you be able to comment, how Chinese, American, and Japanese and other suppliers are fighting for the deal of that size?
Sure. Yes. Well, as you rightfully say, those are the options that we've been looking at, and it's on one hand a tough competition for them to gain our business, but also we have to think about the technology that's already existing both in Ethiopia to be able to integrate with existing hardware, as well as thinking of the future and what advantages each producer brings to the table. So where we are now is looking at price, yes, definitely, but we're also looking at strategy in a way that which hardware producers will give us the most ability to provide services both locally and through a different angle internationally.
Do you have any preferences for water-cooled or dense servers, or will it be the sort of typical enterprise air-cooled servers?
Well, we've looked into water cooling. Luckily, with the prices of electricity that we're getting, we're actually not necessarily in need of such, I would say, higher priced equipment. So we will go with the just raised floor and floor cooling.
Okay, so thank you very much, UROS, and that was a very interesting segment on African development.